School of our Divine Infinite Being, Central Doctrine.
Multiverse Interpretation, Hat Regions of the Multiverse and the Quantum Vacuum. I now want to successively develop a view of the cosmos as it has been postulated by Leonard Susskind and his colleagues, building towards a personal revelation. A revelation that was given to Timothy Desmond concerning the syncretism of the Jung-Pauli conjecture and holographic string theory. We first need to build the framework, and the following chapters will all come together in the seeker's mind.
Our postulates can be satisfied in hats, supersymmetric multiverse regions with vanishing cosmological constant. Leonard Susskind, The Multiverse Interpretation of Quantum Mechanics.
When Susskind defined hats as multiverse regions with vanishing cosmological constant, he is referring to regions of the multiverse that are just like our cosmos. The entire observable universe is a nucleated bubble universe in the multiverse of infinite bubble universes. The consensus amongst scientists is that our universe is expanding, and at the perimeter it is going faster than light. The cosmological constant is the anti-gravitational force that is pushing space to expand. It was first discovered by Albert Einstein, and in modern-day physics, it has been renamed dark energy. It is simple enough to think of it as reverse gravity.
At the quantum scale, space is a writhing, frantic, ever-changing foam, with particles popping into existence and disappearing in the wink of an eye. This is not just a theoretical idea, it's confirmed. And this appears everywhere. At the quantum level, matter-antimatter particles are constantly popping into existence and popping back out, with an electron-positron pair here and a top quark-antiquark pair there. Another name for this phenomenon is virtual particles. Fermi National Accelerator, Office of Science, U.S. Department of Energy. Physicists have now confirmed that the apparently substantial stuff is actually no more than fluctuations in the quantum vacuum. The researchers simulated the frantic activity that goes on inside protons and neutrons. These particles provide almost all the mass of ordinary matter. Each proton or neutron is made of 3 quarks, but the individual masses of these quarks only add up to about 1% of the proton's mass. So, what accounts for the rest of it? Theory says it is created by the force that binds quarks together, called the strong nuclear force. In quantum terms, the strong force is carried by a field of virtual particles called gluons, randomly popping into existence and disappearing again. The energy of these vacuum fluctuations has to be included in the total mass of the proton and neutron. In fact, the true proton is the sum of all these possibilities going on at once. Most of our mass comes from virtual quarks and gluons fizzing away in the quantum vacuum. November 20th, 2008 New Scientist article.
The force of reverse gravity is generated from the quantum vacuum. The quantum vacuum is filled with an infinite amount of energy and found at every point in spacetime, down at the smallest scales. Physicists call the Planck scale. In the quantum vacuum, there is a foaming and bubbling of virtual particles that operate in pairs. One virtual particle and one virtual antiparticle. These virtual particle pairs cancel each other out before they become physically realized, so they never fully exist in the physical world. This is happening right now at every point in space-time across the entire universe, within the quantum vacuum itself. A proton, which is the main building block of the material world, is the result of this ongoing event of virtual particle pairs canceling each other out. A proton is the result of this tension of opposites, and every atom in the universe exists due to this virtual particle-antiparticle pair almost existing, then canceling out. All of the stars, galaxies, and every point in space-time is underlined by this process. At the boundary, where space passes the speed of light, the cosmological constant, this anti-gravitational force, this dark energy, vanishes beyond the observable universe. This is what string theorists call the cosmic horizon of our universe. This cosmic horizon is a critical point that will open an incredible view for the seeker of a cosmology that existed with the Vedanta, Platonic, and Neoplatonic traditions. Their view of the cosmos has striking parallels to Susskind's theories. that will open the mind to a new view of these ancient revelations. To continue developing, we now need to understand a bit about what Susskind said concerning black holes and how this was viewed by our friend Timothy Desmond. The discovery of the mandala in our greater universe and the equation Psyche equals Singularity. Leonard Susskind and his colleagues determined that, like a black hole, whose central point of infinite gravity has an event horizon, a two-dimensional spherical boundary, our greater universe, where the light limit is reached and the cosmological constant vanishes, has a cosmic horizon. This is a spherical two-dimensional plane at the furthest perimeter of the universe, which acts like the event horizon in a black hole, only in reverse. The inside-out, black hole, Big Bang universe that we live in began extremely small in what we first termed the primeval atom. It started from an infinitely small, dimensionless singularity with infinite mass and gravity. That same singularity is still one thing, but is now at an incredible scale, as it is the entire universe, all the way to every point of the cosmic horizon's two-dimensional spherical boundary. At every point in space-time, at the level of the quantum vacuum, there is an infinite amount of energy. From Wikipedia, each point in space makes a contributing equation, resulting in a calculation of infinite zero-point energy in any finite volume. Therefore, it is identical to the expanding singularity itself, being infinite zero-point energy in any finite volume, found at every point in space-time. It is still just one thing. It is still the singularity. The Platonic one, the monism of Hindu liturgy, and the wholeness of Tao are obvious philosophical counterparts to this total unity. But this is drawn from the equations of quantum mechanics, relativity, and string theory physics, and is simply not a metaphysical theory. Susskind and his colleagues would be happy to see this as something devoid of mind or consciousness, although its existing unity as the singularity is inescapable in its parallels. Let's move further into these implications from the point of view of the Jung-Pauli conjecture, where the laws of physics and the laws of psychology or psyche mirror and correlate with each other.
Leonard Susskind's holographic string theory description of black holes and the inside-out black hole universe perfectly conforms to the mandala image of the unus mundus, the archetype of oneness through the reconciliation of opposites that underlies and structures both cosmos and psyche. Timothy Desmond, Psyche and Singularity, Jungian Psychology and Holographic String Theory.
In the Leap Day letter, Carl Jung wrote his definition of the psyche as highest intensity in the smallest of space. We have shown above, through the orthodox interpretation of quantum mechanics, how this is related to the squeezing of non-zero states in the collapse of the wave function, from the point of the observer when experiencing a state of new knowledge. Jung's definition of highest intensity in the smallest of space fits perfectly here with Stapp's interpretation of the volitional will, probing action, or the quantum gravitational force as we consider it from the orthodox method. In the multiverse interpretation, where we are considering things from the macroscopic scale, we find this same principle once again. Yet here, it is related to the singularity, a dimensionless point with infinite mass and gravity that caused the Big Bang and all the expanding bubble universes in the multiverse. Truly, the highest intensity in the smallest of space, as explained by Jung, but this time at the scale of the cosmos. The incredible equation revealed to Timothy was Psyche equals Singularity, which in the multiverse interpretation at the largest scales means the same as the squeezing of non-zero states in orthodox at the smallest scales. For the microcosm, or Atman, it explodes in the simultaneous observer nature collapse of the wave function, evidencing new knowledge. In the greater universe, it is the Big Bang, leading to the entire material world, the space-time curvature of the mind of God, the cosmos, the macrocosm. The singularity, which we will continue to unpack through the principle of eternal inflation, is the same singularity in every bubble universe, at the center of every black hole, and present at every point in space-time. The singularity itself is not outside of space-time, it is the cause of space-time itself, the first cause. This all too important predicate of Platonic thought, the One. when applying the Young-Pollock conjecture brings us to Timothy's equation of Psyche equals singularity. Stick with us as we continue to unpack these concepts. The singularity is a point of infinite mass and gravity that exists both outside of spacetime and is also present at every point in spacetime. Although you would be hard-pressed to find a physicist that will admit a sentient cosmos, if Psyche equals singularity, this singularity would be a state of infinite consciousness. As we have taught earlier, consciousness and gravity are equal and the same. So gravity is the acting logos in the cosmos, whose source is the infinite gravitational singularity itself. This same sentiment is echoed in Platonism in the relationship between the logos and the one. Its third-dimensional expression in the material cosmos, as we have taught, is balanced at exactly zero between gravity, mass, and energy. In philosophy, a term many are familiar with is panentheism, which states that God is both immanent inside the world and transcendent beyond space-time itself. This describes the properties of the gravitational singularity perfectly. If Psyche equals singularity, then its omnipresence and transcendent nature is the consciousness of the totality state itself, the One, the supreme ultimate reality, our divine infinite being.
In a black hole, space-time is collapsing toward a single point, the singularity. In the universe at large, all of space is uniformly growing, like the surface of a balloon that is being inflated. This means that creatures in faraway galaxies will have their own distinct spherical event horizons, which surround them instead of us. Edgar Shagulian, Scientific American. God is an infinite sphere, whose center is everywhere, and whose circumference is nowhere. Liber 24 Philosophorum, 4th century.
In the inside-out black hole universe of which we live in fourth-dimensional space-time, every point is the very center of the cosmic horizon. This means that you are at the very center of the expanding cosmos, and so am I. The cosmic horizon that exists for me does not exist for you, but in reverse, the cosmic horizon that exists for you does not exist for me. The cosmic horizon of string theory physics, as we will teach you further below, contains all of the material universe smeared out across its infinitely hot, spherical, two-dimensional plane. The material body of the cosmos for the Hindu is Māyā, the body of the cosmic goddess Shakti. The Great Mother speaks of this existing and not existing in the Devi Bhagavata.
Myself has one inherent power called Māyā. This Māyā is not existent, nor non-existent, nor can it be called both. Devi Bhagavata.
This is just one more example where these incredible modern-day insights were captured in earlier poetic vision of the East. It can prove difficult to comprehend how each one of us is the very center of the cosmic horizon, and also separate centers from one another, as we live in our third-dimensional world of experience. Through the work of ritual theurgy and tantric kundalini meditation, one is capable of comprehending this and more. This is one of the far-reaching goals we hold as a religious practice and school. For every one of us to know we are the very center of the cosmos, each and every one of us. The center of the singularity is everywhere. This draws us back to the work of Desmond as it relates to these ideas and those of the definition of the conscious-unconscious system in Jung.
The self is by definition the center and the circumference of the conscious and unconscious systems. Portable Jung, dream symbolism in relation to alchemy. In Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Jung writes that our basis is ego consciousness. Our world, the field of light centered upon the focal point of the ego. Each ego is the center of its own field of light, or, in other words, its own universe. Because the perimeter of the universe is relative to the position of each observer unavoidably perceives itself as the central point of the universe, away from which space-time is exponentially expanding in every direction, as if each of us is the singularity of the Big Bang. This is what Susskind means when he writes, "It is as if we all live in our own private inside-out black hole." The Black Hole War. If the world of ego consciousness manifests as the field of light centered on the ego, then the world of ego consciousness ends where the field of light ends, which is the omnicentric singularity, the event horizon of every black hole, and ultimately, the cosmic horizon of our inside-out black hole universe. Timothy Desmond. Psyche equals to singularity, Jungian psychology, and holographic string theory. The self and God archetype are just synonyms for the same thing, the ultimate archetype of wholeness through the union of opposites, which is therefore both the smallest dimension imaginable, the central point of infinite density, and the largest dimension, the cosmic horizon, the encompassing sphere of the universe, the cosmic mandala of the self. Timothy Desmond, Letter to Eddie Paradis. The total number of minds in the universe is one. In fact, consciousness is a singularity phasing within all beings. Erwin Schrödinger.
Your consciousness is the very apex of the singularity, expressing itself in the form of you. Your volitional will, your consciousness, your gravitational force, and the gravitational singularity are one and the same. One of Timothy Desmond's biggest insights through the incorporation of Jungian ideas was this: the very point of the singularity, the very center, is experienced through the most awake and aware part of the self, the fully awake and aware conscious ego. Being at the very center of the cosmos, your ego, your most wakeful state, is the point in the center of the sphere, whose opposite is the cosmic horizon of the entire universe, which we will show you shortly is the collective unconscious and the mind of God. The mandala archetype is so clearly shown here now, related to the greater universe and you personally as its very center, giving new life to the concept of this self-God archetype, with you being the very center of the singularity itself.
We are in the universe and cannot get out of it. We are in our orbits and cannot be out of them. But we can determine our direction within the limits of our circuit. It is our duty to understand ourselves and thus to understand our orbit, so that we may maintain it in absolute freedom. To do this, we must go outside our orbit and see ourselves from without. We can only do this by going within. Aleister Crowley, Little Essays Towards Truth. Shiva, the Supreme Consciousness, is the knower of the self, beyond the dualities of knowledge and ignorance. Adi Shankaracharya.
In orthodox quantum mechanics, when referring to the probing actions, or the volitional will, von Neumann equated this with the observer's ego. If psyche equals singularity, then your ego, as the highest point of awareness, is the gravitational action potential, and it is the singularity itself that collapses the wave function. Our free choices on the part of the experimenter in orthodox is the very center will of the cosmos within this definition. We are absolutely free and must act, but every action that we take is a more or less pure act of the divine itself. The more we identify with it, the more we begin to act from it. When we act away from its divinity, we experience complexities and exaggerations deriving from our human animal passions and desires, entangled in the mundane world of generation. The will of God, undistorted and clear, radiates through us in the discovery of our life purpose and sense of meaning in the cosmos. Acting from the divine will aligns us with the infinite nature of the singularity, and in paradox, it is the pursuit of a deep sense of freedom that binds us to God. As we quoted from Crowley earlier from Liber Aleph, I have already written unto thee, my son, of the paradox of liberty, how the freedom of thy will dependeth upon the bending of all thy forces to that one end.
The essence of spirit is freedom. This is realized through the inward journey of self-consciousness, whereby the self comes to know itself and its relation to the universal. Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel.
How one is to align the divine will of the infinite gravitational singularity with the will of self-expression has been captured throughout humanity in the variety of religious and philosophical literature since time immemorial. It is a transcendent factor in nature that leads one to know how to act from source and live with its presence. Disciplines of transcendence and liberation, as defined in the many practices of yoga and our divine theurgy, are an acceleration that deepens our awareness into a state, as Hegel says, of self-consciousness, whose essence is the spirit of freedom. What we are seeking is freedom, in its purest form, which in paradox is accomplished through service to the eternal nature of the self-God archetype, our divine infinite being. This gravitational singularity of infinite gravity, thereby infinite consciousness, is the very center of our personal being, and through the principle of eternal inflation, the very center of the entire multiverse. Through great effort of resonant alignment, we experience sparks of the eternal fire in an awakening to the true nature of existence, where we are immortal, eternal, and one with the cosmos. The infinitely hot cosmic horizon, the gravitational backreaction, and the revelatory vision of the Hermetica and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam.
The law of conservation of mass or principle of mass conservation states that for any system closed to all transfers of matter and energy, the mass of the system must remain constant over time, as the system's mass cannot change, so quantity can neither be added nor be removed. Therefore, the quantity of mass is conserved over time. The law implies that mass can neither be created nor destroyed, although it may be rearranged in space, or the entities associated with it may be changed in form. Wikipedia, created by Lavoisier and modified by Einstein.
In the book Black Hole Wars by Leonard Susskind, he details an argument he had with the famous physicist Stephen Hawking. Hawking wrote several scientific papers showing that information passing the event horizon of a black hole was lost forever. Susskind staunchly argued that information passing the horizon of a black hole cannot be lost, as it would break the law of conservation of mass and energy. This law is so vital to quantum mechanics that it would cause huge problems for the entire Academy of Physics if it were true. There is a wonderful explanation of this in Timothy Desmond's book Psyche Singularity, Jungian Psychology and Holographic String Theory. But here we just want to explain that Susskind won this argument using the Heisenberg principle of complementarity, he termed black hole complementarity.
According to the principle of black hole complementarity, information about infalling matter is both reflected at the event horizon and passes through it. An observer outside the black hole sees the information smeared out over the event horizon, while an observer falling into the black hole sees the information passing through the horizon without any obstruction. These two descriptions are complementary, meaning that both are correct but cannot be observed simultaneously. Leonard Susskind, The Black Hole War, My Battle with Stephen Hawking to Make the World Safe for Quantum Mechanics. Black hole complementarity explains how information is simultaneously lost and conserved in a black hole, but how is it released back into our observable universe? According to Susskind, all of the information smeared out just above the event horizon will be projected back out into the observable universe with the Hawking radiation, briefly stated, according to quantum theory. Underlying each point of three-dimensional space is a field of infinite energy called the quantum vacuum, which is seething with quantum fluctuations. As Susskind explains, quantum fluctuations are due to virtual photon pairs, which are created, then quickly absorbed back into the vacuum. Hawking radiation, proposed by and named after Stephen Hawking, is theoretically created when a virtual photon-antiphoton pair appears spontaneously from the quantum vacuum right on the razor's edge of the event horizon, so that the antiphoton gets absorbed into the black hole, while the photon escapes into the universe, giving the illusion that the black hole is radiating internal heat, and with it, entropic information. Susskind used string theory to argue that, while Hawking radiation is not scrambled information from inside the black hole, it does carry the scrambled bits of information frozen in time, just above the event horizon back out into the observable universe, like a letter carrier. The same thing happens in reverse at the cosmic horizon. Timothy Desmond, Psyche and Singularity, Jungian Psychology, and Holographic String Theory. He who descended is the one who also ascended far above all the heavens, that he might fill all things. And the same one who descended is the one who ascended higher than all the heavens, so that he might fill the entire universe with himself. Ephesians 4:10. As well in times of old as in times to come, wherefore the course of the Lord is one eternal round. 2 Nephi 10:19.
At the cosmic horizon, where expanding space begins traveling faster than light, past the observable universe, there is an echo or a ricochet back into the universe from every point of its spherical two-dimensional boundary. Susskind calls this the gravitational backreaction. Like in a black hole where information smears out across the entire event horizon, then explodes out Hawking radiation, the entire material universe is smeared out across every point of the cosmic horizon, and on the gravitational backreaction explodes back into the universe on the cosmic microwave background radiation. The entire universe of matter we experience radiates in through this backreaction from every point of the cosmic horizon to every point in spacetime on vibrating strings of energy in an ongoing major event. The swirling galaxies, planets, and every third-dimensional spacetime material property of the cosmos exists due to this ongoing continuous occurrence.
The whole heaven is composed predominantly of fire, but it includes, in a causal way, the powers of the other elements, for instance, the solidity and stability of Earth. One should consider that the fire there is not the same as the fire here below the moon, but rather up there is divine fire, which is an imitation of intellectual fire that has been woven together with life. But Earth is up there in a causal way, being another form of Earth. Proclus. Commentary on the Timaeus of Plato. The cosmic horizon is an inside-out event horizon, so that, from the perspective of someone remaining in the universe, time stops at the cosmic horizon where, according to Susskind, every bit of information describing the past, present, and future of our universe is simultaneously conserved on an infinitely hot holographic film. Timothy Desmond. Psyche equals to Singularity, Jungian Psychology and Holographic String Theory.
According to Susskind's theory, the entire material universe that is smeared out on every point of the cosmic horizon and then bangs back into the universe is also, at the same time, conserved at this boundary on its infinitely hot two-dimensional spherical plane. He calls these mirrored material counterparts the observables in the hat, and says they are infinitely more real blueprints of everything in the cosmos existing simultaneously as the material universe that we experience. The universe itself is a hologram projected in through the gravitational backreaction on vibrating strings of energy, where we are experiencing the world as observers. What we experience here is just a reflection of the infinite observables themselves, which is the exact description that Plato gave to the divine forms, being more perfect images of the material world, found up at the perimeter of the heavens. Materiality at the spherical horizon, where the light limit is reached, is outside of time and eternal. The past, present, and future of the entire cosmos is conserved at the spherical boundary, and according to string theory, the activities of life that we experience here on Earth happen an infinite number of times at the cosmic horizon. This now brings me to the Egyptian Platonic writings of the Corpus Hermeticum.
For death is of destruction, and nothing in the cosmos is destroyed. For if cosmos is second God, a life that cannot die, it cannot be that any part of this immortal life should die. All things in cosmos are parts of cosmos, and most of all is man, the rational animal. For the eternal, in that it is eternal, is all. The Father is himself eternal of himself, but cosmos hath become eternal and immortal by the Father. And of the matter stored beneath it, the Father made of it a universal body, and packing it together made it spherical, wrapping it around the life-sphere which is immortal in itself, and that doth make materiality eternal. Corpus Hermeticum 8:9.
These quotes from the Corpus Hermeticum, written between the 1st and 3rd century CE, have staggering implications for the cosmic horizon and its relationship to the Father. If Psyche equals singularity, it is the mind of the Father, this reverse gravitational force or dark energy that is pushing space faster than light, smearing the material universe across every point of the cosmic horizon. Here, once again, time stands still and all past, present, and future of the universe exists eternally as observables in the hat. The Hermetic Egyptian priesthoods were considered diviners of the highest degree, and these texts are perfect correlations to string theory cosmology. Let's do a parallel comparative to these above written texts across what we have been discussing. First, for death is of destruction, and nothing in the cosmos is destroyed. For if Cosmos is second God, a life that cannot die, it cannot be that any part of this immortal life should die. This has obvious implications to the law of conservation of mass, first introduced in 1842. As stated from the definition above, the law implies that mass can neither be created nor destroyed, although it may be rearranged in space, or the entities associated with it may be changed in form. Then, the Father is himself eternal of himself. The singularity exists outside of space-time, and in the multiverse is the principle of eternal inflation, where the singularity is entering into every bubble universe, but altogether single and eternal in the greater space-time landscape. Then, of the matter stored beneath it, that is, the infinitely hot two-dimensional spherical plane, Cosmos hath become eternal and immortal by the Father. And the Father made of it a universal body, and packing it together made it spherical, wrapping it around the life a sphere, which is immortal in itself. Here the singularity, at every point of the quantum vacuum, the Father, is pushing space faster than light, and at the cosmic horizon, the light limit, all the past, present, and future of the entire material universe is conserved, smeared out across every point of its infinitely hot, two-dimensional spherical plane. At this boundary, time stops, and all the conserved matter in the universe is eternal and infinite, so the cosmos has become eternal by the Father. Moving into the principle of eternal inflation, or the singularity as it exists in the greater multiverse, entering into every bubble universe within the greater space-time, we have another striking resemblance in prophetic parallels. Hindu sacred writings are filled with corollaries that fit into our current scientific mindset, but this one may be the most striking.
The intellect of the Father Word, conceiving with his unwearying will ideas of every form. Corpus Hermeticum.
In the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, written between 800 and 1000 CE, we find this quote: Mahavishnu is lying in the causal ocean, Karananarva, and he is breathing, and from his breathing innumerable universes come out. And in each universe, Mahavishnu, in his further expansion as Garbhodakasai Vishnu, he enters. This causal ocean is the greater space-time of the multiverse. Here, the Father, Vishnu, once again enters as we have seen in the work of the Hermetica above. The breathing out of the innumerable universes is the multiverse singularity, expanding as inside-out black holes, or hat regions of the multiverse. He enters into each universe because all expanding universes are part of the greater inflating space-time single geometry of the singularity itself. I asked our friend Timothy Desmond to give a more thorough explanation of this poetic revelation in the Gaudiya Vaishnava school's interpretation to help demonstrate the significance of this revelation more clearly. He writes,
The Gaudiya Vaishnava school of Vedanta, founded by Chaitanya in Bengal in the 16th century AD, features a cosmogony centered around Karanadakashai, Vishnu, also known as Mahavishnu, or Great Vishnu, who lays down on the causal ocean, goes to sleep, and dreams as he exhales innumerable bubble universes from the pores of his skin, and then inhales them again. After exhaling the material universes from the pores of his skin, Mahavishnu enters into each of them as Garbhodakashai Vishnu, each of whom rests on the surface of the universal ocean that rises halfway up the volume of each bubble universe. A cosmic lotus stem grows from the navel of that Vishnu form, in the blossom of which, at the top of the universe, a demigod known as Brahma is born. Each universe has its own Brahma, each of whom is responsible for creating the other demigods who help him engineer the planetary systems in the lotus stalk, stemming from Garbhodakashai Vishnu. Finally, Garbhodakashai Vishnu then emanates as Karadakashai Vishnu, or Paramatma, the Supersoul, the minute form of Vishnu, who occupies the center of every spiritual and material atom in each bubble universe. According to A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, this material world is a product of the Mahat Tattva, which is a state of the Lord's dreaming condition in his Yoga Nidra mystic slumber in the causal ocean. And yet the whole creation appears to be a factual presentation of his creation. This means that the Lord's dreaming conditions are also factual manifestations. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1:16-26-30, Purport, Timothy Desmond, Letter to Eddie Paradis.
The material universe is the dreaming mind of the Father, the Singularity, who laying down upon the causal ocean enters each of the inside-out black hole nucleated bubble universes as Garbhodakasai Vishnu, the rapidly expanding inflationary universe. As stated by Timothy, after exhaling the material universes from the pores of his skin, Mahavishnu enters into each of them as Garbhodakasai Vishnu, each of whom rests on the surface of the universal ocean that rises halfway up the volume of each bubble universe. In the multiverse, new universes can form through a process called nucleation. This is somewhat analogous to bubbles forming in boiling water. Each bubble corresponds to a universe with a different vacuum state. This occurs in what string theorists call the greater space-time of the multiverse, which we infer to be the causal ocean. As stated in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, in his further expansion as Garbhodakasai Vishnu he enters. Underlying every point in space-time at the level of the quantum vacuum at the smallest scales is still the singularity, or as Timothy explains, Garbhodakasai Vishnu then emanates as Psyche Vishnu, or Paramatma, the Supersoul, the minute form of Vishnu who occupies the center of every spiritual and material atom in each bubble universe. The Paramatma, the Supersoul, exists at every point in space-time and is inseparable from the one total unity, the singularity, eternal inflation in the greater space-time landscape of the multiverse, our divine infinite being. The material world, projecting in on vibrating strings of energy from every point of the cosmic horizon to every point in space-time on the gravitational backreaction, the string theory holographic principle is the Yoga Nidra, the dreaming mind of Vishnu. As Susskind would put it, the universe is like a holographic movie, and the projector is the cosmic horizon, where the entire past, present, and future of the universe is smeared out over the entirety of its two-dimensional, infinitely hot spherical plane. The material existence of illusion in Hindu systems is called Māyā, which binds souls to the cycle of birth and death. Infused within the generative physical existence is Yogamaya. Yogamaya reveals the true spiritual nature of the divine and the universe to the devotees. It helps them transcend the limitations of material perception and enter into the deeper, more intimate experience of divine love and service. Unlike Māyā, which operates in the material world and affects all living beings by creating the illusion of material existence, Yogamaya remains unmanifest in the material sense. It only reveals itself in the context of divine play and to those that have the spiritual vision to perceive it. Krishna, the incarnating form of Vishnu, which we will get much more into later, is the personal god of the Gaudiya Vaishnava school of Vedanta. Like times when you find yourself awake and aware in your dreaming state, Krishna is the waking state of the Father Vishnu within the Yoga Nidra of his dreaming mind. Yogamaya creates a transcendental illusion that allows Krishna's pastimes to be perceived as human-like, enabling devotees to engage with him in various relationships or rasas, such as friendship, parental affection, or romantic love. Here Yogamaya is the divine mystical energy of Lord Krishna, described as his internal potency that orchestrates the spiritual activities and experiences within the universe. It is often referred to as the energy that facilitates the Lord's divine pastimes and enables the living entities to perceive these pastimes according to their relationship with the divine. Yogamaya itself is likened to the feminine consorts of Vishnu and Krishna, Lakshmi and Radha. In the Hindu canon, the feminine is the manifestation of divine energy and the body of the material world. Shakti, the highest of these feminine devas, represents the dynamic, creative, and transformative energy of the universe. It is the personification of the feminine aspect of the divine and is often referred to as the Cosmic Mother. Lakshmi and Radha are different manifestations of Shakti, as are Kali and Parvati in the Shaivite systems. This Yogamaya is an excellent parallel to the Anima Mundi of Platonism, associated with Hecate, especially as the cosmic soul within the Chaldean oracles. Within this divine feminine womb of the cosmos are the past, present, and future of the universe, where we experience the eternality of existence. Lakshmi, the consort of Vishnu, and thereby his divine energy, is the embodiment of wealth, prosperity, and abundance in all forms, including material wealth, spiritual prosperity, and fortune. As the eternal consort of Vishnu, Lakshmi assists in the sustenance and protection of the universe. She accompanies Vishnu in his various incarnations or avatars, and plays a crucial role in supporting his divine missions. She is the divine source from which these blessings flow. To worship Lakshmi is to open oneself to the auspicious and providential inflow of the divine feminine and awaken to the presence of Yogamaya. In Hindu astrology, the positions and movements of celestial bodies are often interpreted to predict an individual's future, including their financial and material well-being. Worshipping Lakshmi, especially during significant astrological events, is believed to enhance one's prospects for prosperity and success, as she is intricately linked to the divinatory nature of their practice. This now brings me back to the most ancient of myths and astrological practices, as we have taught above from the Babylonian Chaldean priesthoods. As stated in the section above, one final word on the creation story of Enuma Elish. It was said that the earth was formed from the splitting of the primordial goddess Tiamat. Half of her body encompassed the spherical heavens, and the other the material nature of the generative world. And then these comments by Francesca Rochberg. In Babylonian cosmology, the movement and positions of celestial bodies were perceived as reflections of divine intention and action. The heavens served as a mirror to the earthly realm, with astronomical phenomena being interpreted as omens that could predict or influence terrestrial events. Just like at the cosmic horizon, holding the holographic blueprints of the material world, where the past, present, and future are conserved, smeared out across every point of its infinitely hot spherical boundary, here half of the body of the goddess Tiamat becomes the spherical heavens. And just as the gravitational backreaction projects in from every point of the cosmic horizon to every point in space-time, her other half has created the earthly realm and the entire material universe. These realms of Tiamat's body are intricately linked, just as taught in the modern-day science of string theory physics. Now, following Francesca, the heavens served as a mirror to the earthly realm, with astronomical phenomena being interpreted as omens that could predict or influence terrestrial events. The Yogamaya, Anima Mundi, this spherical body of the goddess's presence in the universe, speaks to us from deep structures of reality. As stated, in this third heaven, the material world of the Chaldeans, are the depths of knowledge and the mysteries of the natural world. The Chaldeans understood the deep relationship of the spherical heavens to the terrestrial events happening in the world. Everything that has ever happened, is happening, or can ever happen in the future exists within the infinite nature of the observables in the hat. Awakening our personal relationship to this infinite realm is the beginning of our journey, and the most sacred key is found within the deepest secrets of material existence, as we are one with and inseparable from the cosmic horizon itself. The terrestrial gods, the planets and the zodiac, the celestial pageantry of the sun through the seasonal year, holds an inner nature intricately linked to the body of the goddess, Tiamat, and her celestial, spherical, heavenly being. As Jung and Pauli profess, the laws of physics and psychology mirror and correlate with each other. This world of material form, Māyā, holds the feminine radiance of the immaterial Yogamaya. The immaterial Psyche, the name which in Greek means soul or spirit, is perfectly represented in the goddess Psyche, often depicted symbolically as a butterfly, representing transformation and the journey of the soul. Psyche's story is often interpreted as an allegory of the soul's journey through life, enduring trials and overcoming challenges to achieve spiritual awakening and union with the divine. As you can see, we have often interchanged masculine and feminine archetypes, explaining at times the same phenomena. In the Greek and Christian epochs, the Logos is the expressive mind of God, his first emanation. When looking at this from the view of embodiment, this is the divine feminine, the Yogamaya of Lakshmi, the radiance of the Father Vishnu, and the Anima Mundi, the psyche of the world soul. The Christian relates the Logos to their God-Christ manifestation in the world as the Holy Spirit, where the Platonists would relate to the feminine Anima Mundi, the Chaldean Platonists to Hecate, and the Kabbalistic Hebrew, the feminine Shekinah. The Theurgists, in their awakening to the principles of the eternal archetypes and forms, interchanged the masculine and feminine from one expression to the other in their interplay of polarity and opposition. As the singularity is both infinite gravity, masculine, and infinite mass, feminine, both the masculine and feminine are expressions of the eternal, rooted back in the totality of which they emerge, the unus mundus of Jung. We get more into this interplay in the following chapters. As you have seen from earlier writings, the final vision of Kabbalah, as we know it today, started in a deep syncretism with Chaldean cosmology within the Qumran communities and into the earliest version of Merkava mysticism that followed. And also, as explained, Kabbalah went through a reprising of Hebrew mystical thought with the incorporation of Platonism during the Renaissance period. I leave this section with related parallels from the mystic Rabbi Chaim Vital, a primary disciple of Rabbi Isaac Luria, one of the greatest Kabbalists that ever lived. His work, the Etz Chaim, was written toward the end of Vital's life, primarily in the early 17th century. He started compiling these teachings around the 1590s.
When it arose in his will to create worlds and emanate emanations, to bring forth the perfection of his works, his names and his attributes, which was the cause of the creation of the worlds, behold, he then contracted himself in the middle point which is in him, in the very center. He contracted that light and removed it far to the sides around that middle point, and there remained a vacant space, a hollow void, and a certain vacuum. And after this contraction, there was a place left where the emanated and the created could exist. Then from the infinite, a single straight line of light extended down from the infinite into the vacuum, and through this line he emanated, created, formed, and made all the worlds. Rabbi Chaim Vital, Etz Chaim, Tree of Life.